cheer now, but I think that's just because you thought I brought the drugs or something. But so being the last speaker at an event like TED is it's quite a privilege. And basically what's happened is throughout the day, I have shat myself just a little bit more. Hello. Hi. Yeah. We're here today to talk about uplifting communities. And speaker after speaker after speaker has been doing just that. We've had people that are educating communities. We've had, the Gestapo will come in and punch me in a second, We've had people that are educating communities, that have been healing communities, that have been providing healthcare via telephones to communities. Yeah, we've had people that are harnessing communities to make amazing music, and other people that are using music to make, communities. And then we had two dudes discussing shit-eating insects, which I thought was rad. And throughout the day, all I could think is, oh my God, I'm a filthy capitalist. Yeah, that's really all I have going for me. And I thought, well, you know what, I'm full, I got a full stomach, so I'll give it a bash. And I thought I want to talk to you a little bit today about what I kind of feel it means as a capitalist, or as a like one of the rest of us really, to build a community. Because it's a difficult challenge. Missing Link, one of my companies, we've tried to do as much as we can. We give away about 10% of our turnover every month to various charities and things like that. And I thought when I was preparing my talk, I could look at one of those stories and I could find something really cool to talk about. And I realized that more than anything else, I was a spectator. I didn't really know what was going on. You see, I donated money and I'd done things, but it was more to, I guess, alleviate my conscience or to try and feel like I was doing the right thing. But I didn't actually feel that I was doing anything. And I thought, how are we going to do this? Because all I've done is I've been following a model, that the Jesuits started hundreds of years ago, that going into an area, giving them something and hoping they'd build on it. And, for me, helping charities or people was literally, if I give them money, I don't have to worry about it and things will happen. And I thought, I want to kind of reimagine this whole thinking. Just literally while writing this talk, I thought, I want to think about what I've been doing in a different way. And I remembered a book that I read by a guy called Tom Peters. Have any of you ever read this book? Yeah, it's a good book. So it's written in lots of little bite-sized chunks. So it's really handy if you like to, read while you crap, like I do, because you can just open in there, and you can jump into any page you want, and you could find a little nugget of information, like, yeah. I highly recommend if you get to chapter 7, maybe have a curry first, because it's a biggie, But Tom Peters, he's a businessman, and he starts this book, and you turn the page, and it says, and I'm Scottish, but he's American, so forgive me. I do a shit American. And he says, this is not a book about war. I thought, okay, well, good, because I'm a businessman. And then you turn the next page, and it says, but this is a book about war. And you can almost hear the patriotism, only Americans can do, leak off the pages as he starts off, and he gets into it. He's like, my fellow Americans, as we're gathered here today, we can see that we have soldiers equipped with the biggest guns the money can buy. And we have jet fighters with heat-seeking missiles that can shoot a pimple on Osama bin Laden's ass if we could find his ass. And we have tanks that can go through the desert and destroy our enemies. We have these virtual islands that take America's power right through the world. And we have the Pentagon, the brilliant genius minds of the Pentagon. But my friends, if you take all of these and you add them up against just 16 individuals armed with one of these, and what do you get? That. And the book kind of stops there, and you're thinking, and it's okay to swear a little bit, because you're thinking, fuck. And you don't really know what to say, because you were getting into the story, and you were reading around, and you were thinking, okay, he's getting somewhere. Yes, America, superpower, fantastic. All of these things, 16 people, a box cutter. And this happened. Now, I imagine that every single person in this room knows exactly where they were when they heard out about this day. Yeah, I was on my honeymoon. Like you guys, I was asking, how did this happen? Totally different subject, though. Yeah. Your honeymoon. I think I have a reason to talk about this. Your honeymoon is the one time of your life that you're guaranteed sex. Yeah, ever. 3 days of watching CNN, very little sex. I'm pissed off, people. Dude, are those Vibram 5 fingers? Respect. So Tom Peters, he said, how did this happen? How could this possibly happen? And he looked through it and he realized that he came up with the answer. And the answer was very simple. He said, America got caught fighting yesterday's war. Now think about this for a second. So before you had these two superpowers in the 80s, you had the USSR and you had the USA, yeah? And it was a very big war. It was very easy. One bought a big gun, the other bought a bigger gun. One bought a big bomb, the other bought a bigger bomb. Yeah, one bought a space-race missile defense system, the other bought a bigger space-race missile defense system. And eventually what happened is the one party ran out of money. Yeah, the one country simply lost because they ran out of cash. This was the war equivalent of two dudes standing in a public toilet having a look to see whose was biggest, yeah? And it was a problem. And America obviously felt after that, nobody can take us on. There's absolutely no way at all that anyone could ever challenge us. No one can beat us at our game. But of course, like any schoolyard bully, they eventually go down. But they don't go down by the other bully. They go down by the one little guy who's willing to come in and say, hey man, I'm not going to fight by your rules anymore. I'm going to reinvent the rules of warfare and I'm going to change things. And that's what happened. Now, I'm not going to stand here for a single second and condone what happened on this day, but I will say that it was an act of genius and probably the only act that could have achieved the ends that they hoped to get across then. Now, this thinking about thinking that we can build on our past and build on everything we know and think that the way forward is only about building on the things we've always done before us. Well, yeah, it's hindsight, but hindsight's a bitch, yeah? It's always right. Always, always, always right, yeah? It teaches us big, big, big lessons about things. It says there, perhaps using the extra red paint on the wall at the bull ring wasn't such a great idea. At least you're wearing your lucky red shirt. That's the photo you want of yourself going around the internet. Yeah. Now, so I refer to this thing as Legacide. And I say that legacy is the silent killer of forward thinking or innovation. Yeah, what we know makes it very difficult for us to see what's happening in the future. You see, we've got a traditional thinking about innovation. George Bernard Shaw, he said, some look at things that are and ask why, but I dream of things that never are, or never were, and ask why not. And for a long time, that's been the prevailing wisdom for any innovation-based thought. We look into the future and we say, hey, why not? Why can't we change this? The problem is that we're not asking why enough. You see, that's great if you're an inventor, but if you're an innovator, it holds you back. Because sometimes, like the biomimicists have, I made that word up, taught us, is that we have to look at things that have happened before, either to question their validity now, or to look at what we can learn from them if we're going to go forward. And that's the premise of my talk, and it's the thinking that I want you to get across today. Well, Alvin Toffler, he said this. He said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those that cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And by that standard, the majority of this room is illiterate here today, and it's a scary, scary thought. So, I want to ask you a question. So let's pretend you're all 18 years old again. You're all 18, it's awesome, yeah? So all the breasts in the room have firmed up and everything's great, yeah? And men too, by the way. And I'm a genie. I pop out of this lamp. Yeah. And Scottish genies, we're a bit stingy, so we only give you one wish. But basically, I'm going to tell you what this wish is. So I'm going to give you an offer. What I've done is I've gone into the future of every single one of you, and I know the exact point that you're going to die. And I know how much that you guys are going to spend on clothing for your entire life. I know every cent you're going to spend. Now, you're 18 years old, and I'm going to walk up to you, and I'm going to hand you a credit card, and I'm going to say, on this credit card is that cash, the cash that covers your entire clothing bill for the rest of your life. And I'm going to give it to you and say, this is on me. You never have to buy clothes again. I will buy all the clothes for you the rest of your life. Good deal? Yes. However, there's a caveat, and the caveat is this. You have 4 years in which to spend that money. After those 4 years, you're never, ever allowed to buy clothes again. You have to wear the clothes you bought for the rest of your life. Still sound like a good deal? Why not? You get fatter. What else? What happens, yeah? Fashion changes, yeah? Lest we forget the 80s, people. Seriously. Fashions change, things change, your waistline change. Yeah, I could not fit into the pants I was wearing when I was 18 years old. It is absolutely madness to consider that we could buy clothes when we're 18 to 22 years old and continue to wear those clothes for the rest of our lives, and yet we think that it is okay to do that with education. We think that it's okay to leave school and to educate ourselves for 4 to 5 years and to never worry about education again. It's not okay. Yeah, we need to realize that we need to be learning in real time, we need to be changing things, and we need to know exactly where we're going. We need to know where we've been and change things. Yeah, we need to take a lesson from this guy, Kimani Nganga Maruge. Yeah, there is a century missing there, yeah? A millennium. Oldest dude I've ever seen in my life, yeah? 90 years old. Kenyan government said that they would educate anybody who wanted to be. Oh, and you take a photo of that. The Kenyan government said they would educate anyone who wanted an education. Yeah, Kimani decided that he thought his pastor at church was giving him a bit of a runaround with the Bible, and he wanted to learn how to read so he could see if that's really what God intended. And so he went to school, and he decided to educate himself in his 90s. Just before he died, he reached standard 5 or grade 7, and he was made the head boy of his school. And I think that it's amazing that if a 90-year-old can decide to go back to school to learn, I think the most of us can pick up a book or look at a different industry or look at nature and find out different ways that we can learn to improve what it is we do, whether it's uplifting communities or uplifting the businesses that we run. Because let me tell you, the best lessons you will get will not come from within your business. Guaranteed they'll come from without it. That's what's going to happen. But from a community point of view, I realized the lesson from this dude was that he decided to help himself. He got in there and he made the change. And I think this is important when it comes to uplifting communities, because what I've realized is it's very, very difficult to change a community from the outside. And it's even more difficult to be a stranger trying to walk into a community and to try to change it from there as well. Kofi Annan, he once said, Africa's problems must be solved by Africans. My favorite thing about this is that he's standing in front of a set of drums, which I think is pretty cool. While I think his strategy is profoundly brilliant, I do somehow question his tactics slightly. But I think we have to realize that true change happens from within. And I want to take the kind of final lesson on that was a lesson 20 years ago, almost today. And it was happened on the 9th of November, 1989. Who knows what day that was? Kofi. Yeah, okay, I can show you a photo, so you don't pat yourselves too much, but yes. So, on this particular day, we thought the world changed. If we looked at what made it happen, we would have thought that governments got together and big major bodies from the outside came in and made the change. But it didn't happen like that. What happened is a month before that, in a little town called Leipzig, a group of people started getting together on Monday nights and making a change. Eventually, no police came and stopped them, and they thought, well, maybe we can get away with this. On the 9th of October, 70,000 people decided, hey, let's take to the streets. The police were expecting about 50,000 people. 70,000 came. They didn't know what to do with it. So they said, well, let's see what happens. And so the people of Leipzig protest and walked down the street and said that we don't want to be part of this regime anymore. The next day, next town over, a bigger group of people decided to walk onto the streets. And they too decided, hey, well, let's stand up for what it is we want. Again, the police in this town thought, well, if the police of Leipzig did nothing, then we shouldn't really do anything either. And on it went throughout Germany until 1 month later, the people of Berlin literally walked up to the wall and tore it down. And still, the police and the soldiers stood there watching, because those were the rules that were set by the people. Now, had we tried to do that ourselves, had we tried to make that change through policy and through government, the Berlin Wall would still be up. We'd still be negotiating about money. But we didn't, yeah? The people of East Berlin stood up for themselves. So what I have to leave you with to talk about communities is this. The best and only way to uplift a community is to educate and empower the community to do it themselves. We need to let them tear down their own walls. Thank you very much.